Thank
Hopefully I can wait your Yes, sir.
So, my particular area is child abuse, PTSD, and so I can see a lot of opportunities in the past. One of the things that I've heard as I've interacted with the military families is the concern, the fear around being seen for mental health issues, and you know, whether that's real or not. I mean, I think historically it has been, but I don't know how real it is right now. Is that a perception on the part of military members, or is that real? I mean, if they're getting services for their kid, for themselves, how much does that work against their advancement in the military?
It does not work against their advancement at all, because, let me give you an example. The military had a come to Jesus meeting about 2 years ago, when the major at the Army base went berserko and gunned down all those service members on trial now, okay? The military understands that they need to address these mental issues up front without the stigma associated with coming forward and saying, hey, I have a problem. In the old days, most of the military thought you were looking at trying to get out of the military on a Section 8, mentally disturbed, and it had a direct impact on your service record. The military today wants you, if you're having issues, they want you to talk to somebody about it so that they prevent another incident like that. So it's confidential. The military psychologists and doctors are working with the military to handle these problems in the way that they should be handled, and it does not go into their regular service jacket. Okay, it may be in their medical record that they had consultation and the outcome, but that's not held against them for promotional points. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Barry, could you pull up our Jump to Help website?
I could do, you want to?
Could you find that? There's a website they'd like to have pulled up.
You're quicker at it than I am.
Oh, maybe.
I'm still technologically challenged. Catherine's going to pull that up real quick. I didn't go there
Well, yeah,
because
that's fine. I just wanted other people to see what we've done to date, and I guess that we saw this funding request probably maybe 2 years ago now, and it's to work with military families to prevent obesity. And so we kind of had to start from the ground up to build it, and so that we would have a shot at this grant opportunity, and pull together a pretty large faculty team. And we got to thinking, well, it seems like now's a good time to promote technology, develop a website for parents that relates to childhood obesity prevention. But as we got into it, we were thinking, well, what kinds of technology resources are the military using? And so that was the spin-off really for Barry and Catherine's work on collecting survey data about this, so that we could make sure that the website we were creating would be something that they could use on whatever technology they had, tablets or so forth. Yeah. Okay. Can you go to the back to the home page? So actually, a doctoral student is defending on Friday. We had 3 phases for this, but can you make it go up a little bit so we can, yeah. So those are the 7 healthy habits: more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, less sweet drinks, less screen time, more physical activities, more family meals, and more snacks. But as we know, that's not everything related to childhood overweight. We know that stress, we know that a lot of other things that, we haven't been able to capture here yet. So, and just kind of throwing that out there in case, you might want to have some content on here. And one thing that we are adding that has come up in our 3 phases of testing is more on special needs children. And so, we are working on that. But anyway, just wanted you to see that and
I want to add something to this. When we were at Fort Bliss and at Cannon Air Force Base, we demoed this to the directors of the daycare center facilities. They liked it so well that they wanted to have this up and running for the parents to see while we were doing data collection. I had to turn all that off because it's not ready for human consumption yet. We still have a lot to do for it. But the directors thought this was just outstanding. They were just thrilled to see it, and the fact that their service members eventually are going to be able to tap into this. They're really looking forward to this.
some of the comments we've gotten from parents are that, this pulled together a lot of information that they would have to go out and individually look for. And then also, one parent said that she would have been embarrassed to have asked her pediatrician about this because it would make her look dumb and look like a bad parent, that she didn't know this already. So, those kind of comments, I think, illustrate the need
It's as
for
simple as
parenting.
knowing that what 7 grains are and how healthy that is. Well, I don't want to ask that question because I don't want to be looked at as being dumb.
But it sort of calls in a sort of a bigger question about who is being recruited into the Army, especially at the enlisted level, in the first place. I'm a psychologist, and so I'm always well aware of the psychological problems that people are having. And sometimes when you look at the data on PTSD, the strongest predictor isn't what happened during their enlistment, but it was what happened before. And to my knowledge, the screening process today still is minimal and consists of basically one question: have you ever been put into a psychiatric facility? Or maybe 2, have you ever been accused of a DUI or a drug conviction?
Right.
So this is sort of turning a blind eye to so many of the other problems that go together with just the low levels of education that you now need to have a GED, I think, to get into the Army, but even that isn't very hard to get. So you're really dealing with a lot of people who, in addition to being very poorly educated, so I'm a mother of a soldier, or a former soldier, who was stationed at Bliss, by the way, and she would almost, so she came from a fairly functional middle class home. I'm not bragging, I'm only saying fairly functional. She probably thought it was crappy until she
Saw how the others
got
live.
there.
Right.
And I think that for the women, it's even more so the case. Meaning
Yes.
that there's sort of a social norm and pressure for boys to sign up. But the girls who do seem, from the jaded mother's perspective, to be an even more vulnerable population.
They
For
are.
all sorts of reasons.
All kinds of vulnerability.
And so, yes, you want to, you put the woman pilot on television and she looks like fabulous. And this bears no resemblance to the girl Linnea just described, who took three tries to get through boot camp and finally couldn't do it, which means you don't even get your sign-up on it. You just came out with, like beat up ankles and just having been yelled at for, 3-month segments until they finally said sorry. But those are only just a small part. But the postpartum depression, the pregnancies, the abortions, the alcohol abuse, the sexual abuse, it would be like there was more trauma just from everyday life than being in the Army. And at a certain point, I don't mean to discuss more than we need to, but just to give you a sense of, if there's psychologists in the room, boy, are there room for women who deal with this. The only way out of this bizarre situation with the women in the barracks was to get married, was because then you could live in an apartment. Also, the advantage of living in an apartment is you get to eat, you get money to buy your own food. Of course, my daughter has to have everything organic. She doesn't belong there, but anyway. As opposed to what's in the D flat, which everything is fried. And so it became a marriage, like I think many marriages in the Army are, not for love, but to have...
Convenience.
For convenience, safety, sometimes to have some privacy, additional income, and I think sometimes to give people who are being deployed the illusion of you're going back to something. That you turn on the TV, and you see it all the time on the news, that wonderful reunion, Daddy showed up at baseball field, took off his hat, there he was, and it's like the who are you thing. You understand it because it was never really a marriage. It was I want to have somebody waiting for me.
Yep.
So it was sort of a shocking kind of event to have sort of gone through with my daughter, who came out. She's fine, but for psychologists interested in women's health, mental health, pregnancy, abortion, domestic violence, it's like a gold mine of
Opportunity.
It's just, I'll give just one last example. So her roommate had a restraining order against her boyfriend because he assaulted her in the room where my daughter, of course, happened to be living as well. And so the next thing my daughter found out was she married this man. Because the Army created this restraining order in order to prevent this abusive relationship from going on, so she went around and married the guy. And everybody just did her something. So maybe reinforces your point, but from a woman's point of view, perhaps a little more how much. But from a woman's point of view, is also the children's point of view.
Right.
Yeah, you're afraid to say 7 grains, and they're, it's like, they came from abusive households, they weren't doing well before they enlisted. They did, and now the Army takes on the role of parents and families in a way that's beyond anything they ever signed up to be. And maybe when they brought women in, they didn't even begin to understand. They understood they had to do this. And these girls are there because they want that GI Bill. They want to improve their lives. On the other hand, you just admire them. You go, girl, look what you're doing to get that sign-up bonus, to get the GI Bill, so you can go to college and have a better life. And they're getting so beat up in there. It would be heartbreaking.
I'm glad you brought the GI Bill up, because that is another phase of this military that we here at Texas Tech need to be aware of. The military is drawing down right now. Forces are being pulled out, people are being discharged. Their military commitment is up. Each one of them has that GI Bill. They have money and they want to go to college. They've been running clubs. They've been doing, working as assistants to the Air Force dietitians. They've been doing family finance and planning. These individuals are bringing that work experience with them, and they want to get a degree. We have Navy corpsmen and Army corpsmen and nurses coming out of the, or nurse assistants coming out of the Air Force that want to participate in higher education. We need to be ready for that influx of people that are going to be coming here with the money, and they want an education. You may see an influx of students at the undergraduate level, for the most part, that want to get a degree. And our FTEs could be really impacted and going up quickly.
So, you mentioned partnering with someone from the military. Is there a list that exists, or is it just more of an informal network of people that, on campus, faculty members that are involved in various disciplines and specialties? Or, how would you suggest finding out that information? I mean, obviously, we could all go to your office and inundate you, but...
Dr. Nunez from the Vice President's Office, Vice President for Diversity.
Right.
He's a retired Marine, just like me. And between him and the commanding officers of both the Air Force and the Army ROTC, we're working in conjunction with them. They should have a pretty good idea of who the former military members that are faculty at Texas Tech are. And that's an assumption on my part, okay? But I would say give Dr. Nunez a call, or we could put those feelers out and maybe come up with a list of faculty members spread out through not only Texas Tech, but Health Sciences Department that are former military that you could collaborate with.
You know, and if I may say this, maybe one strategy we could just adopt is that maybe if you contact myself or O'Key, and then we interact with Barry and we come up with a strategy about who might be a viable kind of connector, if you will. And sometimes it's going to land, unfortunately, too many times probably on him, but there may be others with even more direct access to a particular thing that we could eventually identify if we just kind of dialogue a little bit about it and so forth. But for now, if long as we don't bury, if you know what I mean, I'd like to kind of start there and see what we can come up with before we start banging on too many doors kind of randomly and independently, I think. Just to make sure that we don't overstep, because like he said, I think you get this one shot, you know, and once you're in there, you gotta be with the right person, with the right thing, and that's gonna determine if it's gonna happen or not. So it's like making sure before you go on stage, you've done plenty of off-Broadway rehearsal. And I'm thinking we can kind of set that up, help set that up.
The other thing I'm wondering about with the new president on campus, and it would seem to me to be a great gesture to the armed forces if the university created a fund of money that would serve as sort of dedicated. I mean, you know, there's all the internal money that is available, but a dedicated portion of money to collaboration with the military. I think that would be wonderfully received and facilitate this kind of stuff.
Well, you know, when he came to visit the college, I did propose not a center of that sort, but that was one of our kind of spin-off from our research clusters, was to engage military families. And he was sort of it's on radar screen, to put it that way. Now, how we formalize that, I don't know. I think one of the things we need to do is just start making inroads and having grant opportunities or things that have happened or things that we've done. And as the list of those projects, no matter how small it grows, then we come forward with things that, look what we're doing. We'd like to consolidate this, institutionalize, you know, systemically represented in the university context, as opposed to, we've been kind of working on a COHS at the time. Something down the track for sure. But can I do something real quick? I'm not sure, does everybody know everybody here? You know, I mean, we kind of overlooked that step, but if we could just go right around the room and say, you know, it's kind of like one of those meetings where my name is so-and-so and my interest in this kind of thing is this. And then go to the next person so that people kind of know who's here, because it dawned on me, I might know everybody here, but not everybody else knows everybody here. So maybe Roxy can start.
Roxy Godfrey, I'm with Family and Consumer Sciences Education, but my research interest is mobile technology, so the use of cell phones being used for instructional purposes. I had sent around a pilot study back in the spring, a pilot study on which professors or instructors were utilizing cell phones in the classroom. Not a very good turnout. Getting a little bit, it still told me a lot. So anyway, mobile technologies is my interest. So I do have some questions, but go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Zhang from NHR, and I was interested in like individuals with disability, and I kind of did the study about the veterans with disability, and I really wanted to know about, you know, I'm interested in their like self-esteem and their clothing need and their body needs. So that's what I'm really like focusing on, and this I'm learning a lot from the session from Dr. Lee. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and I really wanna work and see what can we help with these people. And I'm also wondering about that, how many percentage of people from the world, they have disabilities, and then how much support they can get, that kind of thing is what I'm doing.
My name is Jen. I'm from Human Development and Family Studies. In fact, I'm very interested in grandparenting, and grandparents were just co-parenting grandparents and surrogate grandparents. And I studied in the general population, but I'm very interested in studying this in the military families.
You all heard me already ran. I'm part of Human Development and Family Studies. My research area is maternal fetal health, young children, patients, and developmental physiology.
I think everybody knows me. I'm part and the coordinator for this meeting today.
My name is Jeff Wary, and my area is child abuse, PTSD, assessment of PTSD, and one of the things I'm interested in is we're doing an online training project right now for training people to do assessment of trauma-related symptoms, and to be able to open that up to people at military bases, to do screening of kids online, and then ultimately, the other area of interest that I have as it relates to the military would be kind of up your alley, Roxy, in terms of using technology to reach reservists and guard members and to provide some services to folks that are in rural areas that can't get in to Lubbock. I mean, it's 3 hours to Lubbock, so.
Deborah Reed, nutrition, I think you already know some of my interests. I just wanted to mention when Dr. Nellis when President Nellis was over here for the open house, Barry and I happened to be together in the receiving line and told him about this project, and he said, well, send me some more information about that. And so we did send him a fairly lengthy email describing this. So, I mean, when he heard about it and heard that it was for military, it sparked an interest. So I think your suggestion is right on.
Hi, I'm Ann Prouty. I'm one of the family therapy faculty. I'm here for multiple reasons and for multiple people. My personal interest area for research is women's health, and I have a medical background and a family therapy background, so kind of merging the two. But I'm also here because one of my graduate students, one of my doctoral students, her thesis was with military families in one of the bases in North Carolina, and studying how families accepted diabetes and distributed the responsibilities of diabetes across the lifespan, especially when children moved to adolescence to outside the home. And then the effects on the marriages with diabetes and overfunctioning and underfunctioning partners. But I'm also interested as a couple therapist, and I have special training in couple therapy, and especially training in narrative play therapy with children. So as you're going through, I'm like, oh my gosh, what we actually need to do is we need to get veterans who are coming out to come into family therapy to be able to go back into the service. So we now also thinking of how do I get in and recruit people to let them know about the discipline of family therapy and how it is similar and different from psychology. And so we can get some people from the culture who would be better accepted back into the culture. And I come from an Army family, so and I do have family therapists in my family also who are from the Army. So I know that they like each other much better than outsiders.
I think there could be a connection between that, social media, and the military, to develop a program similar to what we're doing with the health initiative here. You could do the same kind of thing and get this to the service member for recruitment to participate in the study. How?
No, I mean, what kind of study or?
Well,
I'm sorry, I got lost.
You want to bring those individuals in for assessment, right?
Oh,
To
for
help.
the first part of my part.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay. Now I get it, I got it. Yes, absolutely.
So there's a method collaboration that could be done here to expedite that.
That would be really fun.
And the key would be writing a proposal that we could get funded through one of these funding agencies. And it might be as simple as going, let me rephrase that, it might be as going through DOD. The key is you've got to have, you need to have something that is going to be measurable and that is beneficial. But it's doable.
Mary Marini. My area is community nutrition, so I look at the factors that contribute to people's adopting a behavior and sustaining it, especially healthy behavior. Is it personal? Is it environment? Is it policies? All those things, we look at them. And so my interest here is that this is a community. The military group is a community that is, when it comes to healthy behaviors, they are understudied. There are a lot of studies on some of the psychological behavior and all that, but dietary and health related as far as lifestyle, dietary physical activity has not been studied quite a bit.
Hello, I'm Catherine Jai. I'm faculty in retail management. And since last fall, thank you, Michael, gave me and Dr. McCall the funding to start our study for the technology usage in military families. My experience since last fall and interact with the military bases in Cannon and the Falklands is every base are different. And then it is hard, even like Dr. McCall, he has the connection, he's the gathering. It takes effort to build up the connection. In the beginning, when we first contacted Falkland, Cannon, and I asked him, do we really need to go there? And then he said, yes. And so we use our fall break day to go to make our very first visit in Cannon Air Force. And then I was expecting to see the commander as a guy, middle-aged, and actually it turns out to be a tall, blonde, beautiful woman. And she asked such a sharp question. So first question was that we want to help the early kids in the, like the preschooler age kids start to interact with healthy dining habits, interact with broccoli, carrots, and then like using the online games. And so that's why we want to investigate the technology usage. And then she asked me, do we have, why choose this? Do we have a higher rate of obesity in our population? Yeah. And then she felt like offended by choosing them as the first pilot as a military base, and then we tell them because this is our pilot study, we need to select some place that's close to us, and then she accepted, but gradually they build up the trust on us after we come back and visit, and then Barry went back again to distribute the drawing for the gift of iPad. And then took a picture, and then they know we are going to deliver what we promised to do. And then in summer or early, late spring, we visit Dr. Lee and the graduate students. We come back to Cannon and deliver the result that the questionnaire we collected from Cannon, so they know what's the average technology usage and what do they use these cell phone, smartphone, and computer at home, interact with what kind of social media are they using, and are they interested in using this technology to get healthy information. Okay, this kind of soft access to this military base because we are not getting too much confidential information to them, but they gradually build up the trust on us as the research team. And Falklands is a totally different experience because when we walk into the room, we see at least 13 people
in the conference room. We thought we only talked with commander and the director, family service director, but then they have like all the child care center director coming. Yeah, and the dietitian. And the dietitian is very active. He can tell us what kind of meal their kids likes to eat most. And I asked him this question, he said noodles. Whatever kind of noodle, whenever I prepare them, they eat it all. And so they know their kids. And then the special needs kids, they bring up these kind of needs, and they have like thousands of these.
1,000 special needs children.
And different types of disability. So it's about 10% of the total kids enrolled in it. So it's kind of, so that's why I said every community is different. Yeah, but not, I mean, Fulbright already come up with the special needs. They keep asking us, so how about the special needs children we have in our program?
One of the biggest differences between the two was at Canton Air Force Base, they required special background investigations on each member, student and faculty that I brought on to the base. They had to go through a background investigation that took about 6 weeks with the Air Force Command. And Fort Bliss didn't ask for any of that. It was mainly because I was a retired military with my retired military ID card and I could get on base.
But it took almost 2 months for
Yes.
our questionnaire to go through their interval.
Yeah, the Air Force, the Army took about 2 months to approve their IRB to approve our questionnaire.
So you need to be mindful of that. Well, that's Carol, works with Oki and I in the research office, and Ron, who is kind of working with me on another grant, but whenever there's a technological need, I can. But in any event, I think one thing that I don't know, would we like another meeting, or would we like to think about, maybe if you imagine this as a sort of an umbrella grant, it won't be submitted as such, or won't be created as such, but a kind of an executive summary of a project that you would like to have done with a bona fide deliverable if you could get access to a military base. I'm going to have Oki send out an email like that so that Jeff and Deborah Reed get it and so forth, and Mary gets it. But then we can kind of have like a little catalog of things, and maybe we could then have a second meeting which said, seems like you guys could do something, and you guys could do something, and Barry will go, I don't think that's going to happen, whatever, or something along those lines where we could strategize about a kind of a organized way to approach a base and say, maybe we could get like, at Canon, we've got these 3 projects. One of them involves healthy choices on the internet. Another has to do with such and so in the child care center, and the third one has to do with disabilities and something else, And then we could kind of package them up in a way so that our efforts could be sort of streamlined in that way, while we're collaterally thinking about other opportunities in terms of submitting proposals for project. I mean, I don't think we're going to accomplish all that in one meeting over a ham sandwich here. That's probably not going to work. But I think maybe, if we're interested, get those executive summaries, have at least one more meeting in which we have a little more tangible stuff to work with, and then see if we can build something from there.
Would you all be interested in that? Because there's a lot of expertise here.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
From a
indeed.
psychology standpoint, that you would need these players on the team to make it viable to the military.
And outcome orientation, I hear it all the time from Barry whenever I go somewhere, and they're always like, so does that mean that we could then do this? And you have to say, yeah, kind of, but you have to do these other things too, or this is not going to be very useful. Sort of thing, but a tangible outcome. So 1 paragraph executive summary, I would go in to do this, to find out that, so I could deliver this, and see where we go from there.
So it's services
be a deliverable, like family
Yes.
therapy services be a
Yes.
deliverable? Because I
Yes.
can't guarantee someone's kid's not gonna be
No.
gonna stop
No,
their
no.
nightmares, or that I won't actually promote a divorce by getting somebody healthier. Like you're saying, maybe when people get healthier, they actually get divorced. So I can't guarantee a lower divorce rate.
But providing that
But I
service
could guarantee
in some way, shape, or form.
competent
And see,
therapists
know,
providing
their services
hours
is
of
what they're
services.
interested in also.
Yes, online screening seems like it's a no-brainer for them, you know, it would be. Those kinds of things, and then we'll just shuffle these things around and see how they line up, and maybe then we can really kind of, you know, exploit a little bit this inroad, because I see, this is like one of those cave things, you know, where you go through the little opening, and then when you get on the other side, it's like,
Humongous,
whoa,
yeah.
it's this big. But we gotta go through the opening here, and that's,
Right.
seems kind of tricky.
There's a lot of military bases that you all could choose from. We have a lot of Air Force bases that are within, you know, 500 or 600 miles geographically. A lot of Army bases. Navy is a little far out, okay? Navy's a little far out, but the others are available.
And do you think they're different, like by them, they're Navy or, you know, they're Air Force? You know,
There
they're
are
different,
distinct
like-
differences and peculiarities associated with, no two services are going to be the same, okay?
And their characters, do you think their characters very different?
But the people are the same with the same issues for the most part.
There's
That's
still
the
that
key.
community.
The hierarchy may be different, but the need is the same.
Okay, so if you can do those one-page executive summary, here's what I'm interested in, here's what I would do, here's the deliverable, get it to Oki and/or Carol, we'll set up another time, and we'll kind of synthesize what we have and see if we could come up with 2 or 3 specific projects that we could bundle together in a way that would be appealing based on what we know about these places. And by the way, feel free to talk to other people in other colleges or other campuses to collaborate with. I just wanted to get us off the mark internally in our college, but I can well imagine, you know, you have people you'd like to work with, maybe HSC or private industry even, or what have you, that you would want to drag on board here in this instance to make the project all that more appealing. This is not like, you know, something you have to keep under wraps.
Does anybody have any ideas about trying to recruit people for a master's program? I mean, our program is really competitive to get into, but there are other programs that are close to military bases that if people already have, they have to have a bachelor's or an equivalent.
And see, most of the people that have bachelor's degrees, most, are officers.
Yeah.
And when they get out, they already have career
Right.
aspirations
What
ahead
about
of
their
them.
spouses, though? Do you think we have spouses that have the bachelor's degree? I would assume so. Officers' wives or husbands?
What did our survey show as far as, we have a large percentage of college graduates at Cannon Air Force Base.
Yeah, I don't know that at all. Because my family, my cousin was the military general guy, and his wife came up there in Germany. And she said that they don't have enough family therapists.
See, my son's first lieutenant now. He was a WO4 warrant officer, and he had to take a pay reduction to get commissioned for being a doctor. His wife is finishing her degree right now in medical technology, transcription and stuff.